Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Spooky Second Podcast with your host, the Alfred State Paranormal Investigation and Urban Exploration Club. This week, two of our members, JD, the club president, and Liz, the vice president, will be talking to our guest, Dan Klaes. Dan Klaes is a paranormal investigator on the VIDI Space series, Ghost Finders, and Within These Walls. He also was the director behind the series Behind the Shadows Decades. He's also the owner of the haunted locations most haunted location that the club has been to, and one of the most popular locations in New York State, being the Hinsdale House. So Dan, with all of the different investigations that you have done, what is your most influential paranormal experience?
Probably the instance that got me to buy a haunted house. I was similar to you guys. I had a team, and we were exploring the Hinsdale House at one point about 8 years ago or so, and 8, 9 years ago, maybe even 10 now. Man, it's going back. But it was the house was in a situation where it was no electricity. All the electric and all the ductwork was ripped out of it, and it was just a shell of what it is today. And we were basically saying goodbye to the location because we knew it had a demolition date, And we were standing in the kitchen. It was just me, the co-founder of the Greater West New York Paranormal Society, Cameron, one camera, videotaping our experience, and the manager of the house, Michelle. And at that point, I had experiences at the location, and I was intrigued by the location because it seemed like every time we went there, something would happen. And I started researching to find out the other families that may have lived there, to see if maybe they had experiences as well. And I had found an older couple that lived there in the 80s by the name of Misnicks, Flo and Joe Misnick. I had everything that we were talking about was the exorcism, and nothing was coming of it, And so I wanted to change it up a little bit, and I called out for Flo, and I had like this jolting sensation up my arm. I had a K2 meter in my hand that went all the way up to 500 milligauss in my hand, and I just felt electric. I'm not used to feeling something like that, and it's not a normal occurrence when that happens. So I continued to have what I thought was a conversation with her, and I asked her if she'd hold my hand as we went up the stairs, and the K2 meter stayed lit on the stairs all the way up the stairs into the master bedroom until we crossed over into Mary's room, which is the room where everybody thinks there's the portal, and where the bugs always go to, where I had to basically have 500,000 honeybees removed from. Seems like everything focuses on that room, and then I lost that energy. And I was like, man, this sucks. This place is getting torn down, and it really pushed me to explore the opportunity to possibly buying it. And it ended up working out for me, to save it.
Yeah, I totally get that, because from where I'm from, down here in the southern tier, we have a lot of these old buildings that they're mostly gone, but you can't really get into them because the owners live in the city and make it kind of difficult for you to contact them. So you see these awesome haunted locations, but you can't access them.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I live in Buffalo. I live in the city, but my main goal was to open it up for people to come in and explore, make it safe, and try to get as much information as possible, because investigating it myself, it would take years and years and years. But having a cooperative effort of investigators coming in, maybe they're going to open up the door, or maybe they're going to open up something that I wouldn't get. The more we can investigate it, the better we're going to get at it, and the clearer answers we're going to have as to the possibilities of what's making the land tick and the house tick, That's why it's important to me to have people come there, and the experiences that people have when they come there speaks for itself. I don't really have to really sell it too much. It's been on TV quite a few times, and that's helped out a lot. But the experiences that people keep having when they come there makes them want to come back.
Mm. Yeah, we're definitely getting that feeling because last year we went there. Um, we had a lot of well, everybody there had an experience. Maybe part of a bigger experience, maybe not, but everybody went away with something, and we're definitely interested in going back one of these days.
Which is impressive, because I'm sure you've explored many locations in your time doing investigations, and there's times that you'll go to a location and be lucky if you come out with one experience.
Mm.
Sometimes nothing happens, and for you to all have something individually happen to yourselves at the house is pretty unique. In a way, I feel like the house, and people always say this, the house, like it's its own entity, but I feel like sometimes it's giving you what you want. It's giving you, so it calls you back, so it, it sucks people in, and it makes you want to go back there.
Yeah, we just had Casey Colburn on.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently does your day tours and helps with a lot of different tours.
Yeah, she's one of my resident witches.
She was talking with Liz here. She's basically one of two of our witches on the club. She's also kind of in the psychic medium, I believe.
Goes hand in hand usually. As you open up that side of yourself, it allows you to speak with spirit, and usually goes hand in hand.
If you are speaking, Liz, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know what was happening. So I had a question. How old were you when you had your first experience with the paranormal?
I was a young boy. I grew up in a haunted location. Later, that I vindicated myself, I ended up actually buying that house from my parents. But there was actually a story done about my experiences. It was put on travel channels called My Paranormal Nightmare. And growing up, we would have not anything like horrible happen to us. It was more like playful type things, and it was scary though. When there's something that's unknown that you don't really understand as a child, and your parents are telling you it's people pulling pranks on you and things like that. To try to protect us. You're always just kind of watching over your shoulder like something's going on. And to me, the only experience I had with a ghost was Casper on TV. And didn't really think about it until I got a little older, and all the experiences that we had growing up. Like we had vaulted ceilings in our living room, and we would come home from like going out for dinner, and there'd be like crayon drawings on the ceiling with crayons sitting in the middle of the floor. My sister was like OCD about her stuffed animals on her bed, and we'd come home and they'd be sitting on the middle of the floor. Um, One time, my parents had gone camping up in Canada, and I didn't want to go, and my best friend lived 2 doors down. So I stayed with him while they went camping, and I was going over to my house to get my G.I. Joe guys because we are going to play in a sandbox in the back. And when we opened the door, we heard it sounded like little kids singing Ring Around the Rosie upstairs in our house, and I knew damn well nobody was there. So things like that happened in that house while I was growing up. And when I turned 18, I went to go see a psychic at Lilydale with my friend. It wasn't something that I believed in or could be possible, but when I sat down at the table with this psychic, she started telling me things about myself that she shouldn't have known. And she basically told me that I had two children's spirits in that house. And I was like, holy crap, she put the nail on the head right before I even asked the question. And I later, I left, I went to college, and I was living in Buffalo, and then my parents told me that they were going to be selling the house, and I had just had a baby, and I thought it would be great for my son to be able to go to the same school that I went to, and moved in. And as he got older, he started telling me about things happening to him, which I was a little bit more open with him, you know, and explaining things to him. And I started researching the house because I had the deed, and I ended up finding on microfiche that there was a little boy and a little girl that had died of cystic fibrosis. The psychic, when I went to go see the psychic, said that there was a paint, or not a paint, that's what I found, but she said they're attached to something in the house. And I went up in the attic, which I had never been up there, and I had seen these boards against the wall, and when I turned them around, they were a painting of a little boy and a little girl. And I felt like that helped too, because we acknowledged them, we acknowledged what they were attached to, and it was kind of like my first Scooby-Doo adventure of my life, you know, and got me really interested even more to want more. And I started kind of like my own journey at that point, you know, going to all the famous haunted locations and learning all the history and the knowledge, and it just was so interesting to me, and just continued to do it, you know. Here I am years later, still going down that path, but just really trying to push the boundaries, you know, more and more. But yeah, I mean, it started when I was little, like I'd say probably 7 or 8 years old when I first can recollect things happening to me, you know.
That's very interesting. I also was about 8 years old when I had my first experience, so I know how you feel with it being really scary, because it was just, I just saw a little girl in my back room, and I thought that there was a little girl in my house. My mom ran back there, and she didn't see a little girl. I was like, oh, it's a ghost.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's enough to freak anybody out, you know,
Definitely.
because all those possibilities are running through your head as a kid, you know, like, are they there? Are they watching me? Or are they keeping, you know, like, what's going to happen? You know, like, all these weird things that are always going through your mind. So it's funny because later down the road in life, my parents came out and said, my mom's like, oh, I saw a shadow in the basement, and it scared the hell out of me, and I ran up the stairs, and in the meantime, they built me a room in the basement. I'm like, oh, so you just threw me down there then, huh? You know, thanks a lot, you know. But yeah, no, it's very interesting, and I always I always think about like growing up and all the experiences that I had, and wishing that I would have the equipment and tools and the knowledge that I have now to be able to go back. But you know what? Everything happens the way it's supposed to, I think, and you know, I was destined to buy that house and figure out what it was, and I feel like the same kind of situation with the Hinsdale house. You know, I feel like it was a very small chance I was going to be able to buy that place because I had just bought a new house, and everything fell into place. Everything, I feel like the house wanted me there in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. This is like the house of so many lives because it's it's been through so many hands since 1969, and nobody's ever actually purchased it until now. You know, people would move in for a few months and then default on the mortgage, go back to the bank, and then finally the bank was like, we're just tearing this down. Nobody's going to want it anymore.
Okay, so what was the scariest paranormal encounter you had?
The scariest was I look back at an investigation we did at a theater. It's in North Tonawanda, New York. It's called the Riviera. And there were all these stories about a man that fell off the roof when they were building it, and about these. There was an accident there with some actors and actresses, and you know, so there's all these stories, and we were there investigating it, and I just basically wanted to have my own experience. You know, like I wanted to see something with my own eyes. I wanted to be able to say, "Holy crap, that happened!" And the team, they were down on the in the downstairs, sitting in the seats in the main area, and then they were put K2 meters up on the center stage, right and left of the stage, and they were calling out and asking for spirits to come and make a bow, and then clapping in the audience and stuff like that, just to try to see if they could get some type of reaction, and it was actually working. But I told Cameron, who's the co-founder of the group at the time, that I wanted to kind of go alone, and I just went upstairs into the balcony, into the mezzanine level, and I was sitting at a baby grand piano. We had a laser grid up and a camera running, and I just remember taking a breath, and then I couldn't breathe anymore because what I saw just wasn't explainable to me, like logically, like, and it still isn't to today. But there was an organ on the back wall, and I saw this dark shadow come out of the organ, and the laser light was not going through this. So it had to have some type of mass to it if the laser lights were not going through it. And I'm watching this thing glide right towards me, and I just was like one of those, and he just stopped breathing, and I was like, holy crap, and I froze, and it was like inches away from me. I didn't see anything else except for it glide into the projection room, and I just collected myself, and I got up like a big baby, and I ran down the stairs out into the street, just really like thinking like, oh my God, what did I just see? Is this really happening? And I remember the team running out because they wanted to get my reaction on camera, like it's what it's all about, that reaction, I guess. But it was startling to me. And I remember telling my camera guy, Louie, I'm like, Louie, go plaster pictures up there. I need to know what this was, like it's up there. And he was plastered. I think he took like 200 pictures of the balcony, and we ended up capturing this face on the balcony. It looked like it was looking down on us, and it's so creepy. It looks like a distorted face. And that's what I saw. Like he captured it on camera. I saw it, and we captured it on our video. Like just unbelievable. Like it was the first time that I ever physically, was saw this with my own eyes, where I believed it. And I was like, man, I know today I'd probably run towards it and ask it its name, but I'm in a little bit different kind of a situation. But usually I think like the most startling is going to be the first experience that you have where you can't explain it logically, and when you start doing this stuff, as much as we all say we want to see that, when it actually happens, you get a different take on it, so.
Yep.
I have a good question. What was your favorite encounter you've ever had?
I'm trying to think. Well, one of my favorites that I can remember was about 2 years ago. It was called the Renoir Mansion. It was in Davenport, Iowa, and I was there doing an investigation. I was brought into town to do work a psychic fair and do give a speech about the Hinsdale House. And then the night before, I was to help run a ghost hunt there. And then instead of a hotel, my accommodations were staying at this the Renwick Mansion, and there it was beautiful. I mean, it was beautifully done, beautifully redone room. But we had a great night investigating, and I remember waking up right early in the morning, and they had those old shutters on the windows, and to me it felt like a maid came into the room, and the shutters just went whoosh, like this. They just opened right up while I was in bed, and I was like, oh my God, that was like, and like, okay, time to get up. You're not sleeping anymore, like time to start the day. And I was like, damn, that was a pretty cool experience, nothing negative, but it was just cool to have that happen, What was your coolest experience, in your opinion? Annie?
I would say for me, it was actually at Hinsdale House.
Oh, yeah?
I connected so much with Mary. Maybe this isn't really cool. I shouldn't say it's cool, but I connected so much with Mary that I was downstairs in the kitchen, and one of our old they're not in the club anymore,
Mm-hmm.
kind of messed around with her and got her angry, and I could feel her anger so strongly, and I was just like, what did you guys do to Mary? Leave her room right
How do you
now.
know it
She's
was
so
Mary?
bad. Because I could feel her energy. I knew that I could feel that it was her. I could tell. Because I had spent a lot of time in her room just talking to her through the pendulum and the dowsing rods, and just something with her really resonated with me, and we connected really
I'll tell you what. It's
strongly.
the what happens in Mary's room is usually not Mary because Mary's still alive, but it's usually Laura. So I just Laura is actually the daughter that ended up committing suicide. And we've
Oh.
captured pictures of her in the house, but she's been known to call out for Mary. That's why I was asking why maybe you thought it was Mary.
Oh, she said that she was Mary because when I went up
I mean,
the
now
first time.
it could be somebody from the history. There's a Mary Elizabeth
Oh,
that was
okay.
part of the McMahon O'Brien family,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also a Mary that we get a lot too out by the pond that we can't explain who she is at this point either. So
Okay.
yeah, if it definitely was a Mary, it's possibly one of those two.
They
I'm
were in
suspecting it.
Mary's room. That's all I know.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when the guy let us into your Hinsdale house, though, he said that Mike, um, Mary, Laura, and
Beth.
yeah, Beth were all deceased and were spirits there.
Okay,
So
so
I
Beth
think we
is
got
yeah.
miscommunications.
Mike and Laura or Mike and Mary or I'm sorry, Mike and Laura are dead, and Beth and Mary are still alive. But we just named the rooms after all of them because that's where the stories originated from with that family living there. I actually just last week was in Oregon with Clara. I got to sit with her because we're finishing up a documentary called Dead Remains that's going to be coming out after the new year that I filmed with Nick Groff and
And this
basically
is
dive.
all brand new information, right?
Yeah, this is going to be. I mean, we did ground penetrating radar on the property because we're looking at the folklore aspects of all the stories from the house
Okay.
and really trying to dive into that to see if there's any truths to the two men that lived in the house that killed and murdered people and buried their bodies out on the side of the house and stored them in the basement. Um, so we did ground penetrating radar. Um, I'd have to say that it's pretty interesting the stuff that we found, but I really can't talk about it yet. Like in January, it's going to be probably it's going to be huge for the place. We did have forensic divers dive the pond, and they also found a piece of evidence in the pond that's going to really run waves through everybody locally when they hear about it.
See,
So,
I said to the club, and I was definitely going to ask permission before, but I just felt like if everything's going on around the pond, that somebody has to check in the pond for something.
well, here's the thing. So that pond was built in '69. So that, and then Claire's talking about the dog bringing home what looks like a human femur bone, and my whole thing was when they dug this pond, this is when shit hit the fan. Like this is when stuff started happening to people. But now that with the research that I'm doing, I'm finding families that lived in the house before the McMahon or the Dandy family that had experiences as well. So it's definitely a lot going on there. But I feel like when they dug that pond, they unearthed something
Hmm.
and pissed something off, honestly. And that's kind of my theory at this point still, that's what's making something mad. Like we moved something or we did something and wasn't acknowledged or it wasn't done the right way, and um, now we have to make it right, and that's why we bring healers to the land. That's why we bring witches to the land, and we try to offer healing to the property
Hmm.
because that was never been done. It's never been done in all the time that it's been owned, and that's why we have that giving tree up in the hill where people can give an offering to the property, give an offering to the entities and the spirits, the native spirits that are there, and allow them to know that our worlds can combine. And we can communicate on a level of knowledge and a path of knowledge that will allow us to see more and hear more. And it seems to be working.
I haven't introduced myself. My name is Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Hi. I have heard a lot about the house, and I hope to go soon. It reminds me of American Horror Story, the very first season. The house. There's so many stories there.
Yeah, we could totally do an American Horror Story there, I bet.
What do you think of the show? Do you think it runs like parallel at all to the Hinsdale House, or?
Well, I mean, I feel like if I compare the shows, I mean, I don't think that I think that we're going to have logical explanations as to why things are happening through science and through investigative techniques, as opposed to maybe there were some nasty things that happened to some people. Maybe something, you know. I mean, so I guess possibility that it could run parallel to that in some aspect, but I feel like we're going to be able to give closure to Clara when this is all said and done. Like, we're going to be able to say, look at what we found, or look at this, Clara. This is why this happened to you guys. And I'll tell you what, when we told her, she was in tears. You know, when we told her what we had found, and it really helped her to understand why things may have happened the way that they happened to her family. I mean, when I went and met her last year, she felt like the house and the location came back and got her son, because he died in a car accident later in life, you know. And they said it was from a previous accident that he had earlier in his life, which was in Hinsdale, and he had a car accident and there was a blood clot, and they said that that's what killed him. So she feels like it came back and got him, you know, which is sad, you know, because she loved that place too, and it's a beautiful location, you know, with a picturesque background, and we've made it better since the last time you were there too. We just redid the whole porch. We have a deck on the pond now, so you can actually walk out onto the water to get do EVP sessions, which is pretty neat. We cleared out the whole right side of the pond, so you can actually walk over there now. It's not a swamp. We put like a sewer pipe in. We found the aquifer on the hill, and now the water is actually going from the aquifer through the sewer pipe into the pond, and we graded that all, and we found a lot of stuff there as well.
You found a brand new barn, right? And then a well?
We found the well, the original well of the house, and we found the foundation of the barn, which burned down in late 60s. I've done some investigating there. The documentary series that I just put out last month, Behind the Shadows Decades, it's a 2-part series on ulterior theories about the house. You know, not just about the exorcism and the Dandy family that made it famous, but speaking to these other people that live there. And it's funny, like when I had the group out and they were doing an EVP session at the barn foundation, they said, well, why did the barn burn down? And then they played back the recorder. And they said, why did the barn burn down? And then you heard it real clear as day on the recorder. It said, insurance. I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now. Like, come on. Really? They needed insurance money? Hopefully they didn't kill any horses or anything, you know? But my goal is to build the barn back. I'd like to have it as the way that it was, you know? Like, I have pictures of what it looked like. I'd have to move it over a bit because of where the pond is now, because a part of it it'd be in the pond, so changed up a little bit.
By the sounds of it, you got some really big plans, because you also, Casey, when I was on the tour with my mother, actually, said that you were planning on doing a museum also.
So, yeah, when you get there, I want to put in a base camp. I mean, this is really just like, I'm just throwing for the stars here with this paranormal stuff, because, you know, like when you're there, it's such a small location. So if you have 6 people and you could screw up your evidence with each other, you know. So wouldn't it be cool to have a base camp area where you could have all your equipment and have closed circuit TVs with the cameras that are in the house, so you can watch those and maybe send in 2 people at a time, as you know, not knowing that maybe somebody's sitting in the kitchen and can move the chair, or, you know, somebody's talking outside, be in the back by the fire or whatever, you know. Like, you just want to be able to say without a shadow of a doubt that what I captured is something that I can't explain. And by having that base camp built, that will allow that to happen. So that's going to be first. It's going to be like a cabin with sleeping quarters. If people don't want to sleep in the house, they could sleep in the cabin, vice versa, and have that area for themselves while they're there. And then the other cabin will be like a museum of all the artifacts that we found and that we have, and poltergeist items, the kit from the priest. It'll be really cool, and it'll be a plethora of information for teams when they come there, because we've been keeping track since at least I've owned it, and probably a few years before I owned it. I have the books, and you know how people, when they go there, they write down what their experiences are. We have all those, and we're going to be having all that information available to all the teams that come in, so they can look through that and possibly assist them with their investigation. Maybe there's something that they didn't know, or maybe another team picked up something in an area that's inclusive to what they picked up. So, I think that the more that we share the knowledge, the better we're all going to be at the end. So, when we work with each other, it's not that anybody's better than anybody else, or no egos. And I like to make that a point when we're with the Hinsdale House. It's not about ego. It's not about all that drama stuff. It's about just going in and doing your thing. And everybody has something to bring to the pot, whether you think so or not. You could be that next person to that nobody else could. As long as you're doing it respectful, that's the only thing that I care about. Be respectful. Because if you are dealing with a human spirit, why would you want to talk to it like it's a piece of trash, or demand things of it? It's like, just be respectful, and that's the only thing that I ask.
I always say, or try to say as often as possible with a club, that treat them as if they're people, and treat them how you want to be treated.
Yeah, just like you would in life. You're going to deal with some idiots, and you're going to deal with some more good people than idiots, hopefully, but it happens.
So, you originally bought the Hinsdale House when you were part of the Greater Western New York Paranormal Society?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. I bought it when I was. I mean, the group is still going. Like, part of the group does the series Within These Walls on VIDI Space and Amazon Prime, and we still help. I mean, if we get calls and it's something that I can't do, if like I'm traveling or something's going on, we have a good network of teams locally that can help, and around the country, really, with everybody that I've met, all the teams and people that I've met. If I put a call out for somebody, it's pretty quick to get picked up, to help someone. But if I'm available and somebody needs help, I will 100% try to help someone, and go to their house or whatever. Chelsea and I just did one a couple weeks ago from the psychic on the team, and it was a local in my hometown, so it was nice to be able to go in and give some explanation to the family that was experiencing something, and put some take away some of their fear that they had.
So
a lot of it's just being a lot of what that was just being able to explain things to people and talk them through it so they understood what it was and how to live with it if they wanted to, or if they wanted to get rid of it, then we call the next person, to help do that. But for the most part, you're not going to be. It's hard. It's hard when you like try to do a cleansing and the spirit doesn't want to leave. But it can be done. But then you got to be careful, because you might be opening doors to other things. So that's what I always tell people. If it's something that is 100% not bothering you, and you understand what it is now, and you can live with it, just try to live with it, and pretend like you're just talking to another person. And we all know that you're not crazy, it is what it is. And a lot of the times it dies down. So once you acknowledge that it's there, or you acknowledge who it is. In this case, we were able to acknowledge who it was, and it's died down for them. So.
Some people say that. They say, like, when I die, am going to haunt you, or I'm going to haunt this location. Like, they already have the intent in their living life to be a haunting. So it makes sense that not everyone would want to be cleansed of a location if they think that is like what the books have written for them, is to be a spirit lingering.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of it is intent, and maybe talking some understanding into the spirit at that point, the human spirit, and explaining what the situation is will allow them to move on if they want to. Or sometimes it'll die down because it'll understand what you're trying to ask of it. And sometimes I feel like, are we a paranormal investigator or are we counselors? Because you have to know the psychology sometimes, in order to really understand what people are thinking and what they're going through and the different personalities that you're dealing with. Are they, you even have to look at what medications they may be on. Could that be having a side effect on what they're doing? So it's intensive, as far as when you do get involved with a case. But when you get involved with it, I follow it through to the end, regardless of what it is.
So, through following you through social media, I've seen that you own several different locations, not just the Hinsdale House, but the Wildwood Sanitarium, and you used to own the Statler City Hotel, right?
No, I don't own them. My friend Lori Ann Wagatha owns the Wildwood Sanitarium. She is a good friend of mine. She came to me at my birthday party a few years ago before she bought it, and she was explaining to me what her ideas were with the location and save it, because it was another one that was going to hit the wrecking ball. And we basically applied the same kind of business plan that we had with the Hinsdale House for renovation, and started bringing it back to life so people could investigate it and renovate it and fix it up again, And that one's a lot bigger project than the Hinsdale House, because Hinsdale House is just a small farmhouse. This is a multi-tiered sanitarium,
Yep.
three levels with a basement and all different types of woodworking and masonry involved with it. So I'm happy to say, though, we did start getting the soffits and the roof fixed now finally, so that's really good for that. And as far as the other locations that I'm involved with, Statler Hotel, which is in downtown Buffalo, I don't own that. My group, I help facilitate the tours there for the public and also investigate the location when we can. Like, I'll probably be going there Thursday again because I have some new spirit boxes that I want to test out there. And I also do facilitate tours at the Lafayette Hotel, which is in downtown Buffalo. The GLF grain silos in next to Riverworks in Buffalo. Those were just recently featured on Destination Fear this past weekend. So there's a lot of locations that I'll work with. There's tons of great locations as well. I mean, in Western New York, there's so many. Like Iron Island and Rolling Hills Asylum, and I mean, the farther you travel out, there's Greystone Manor, and there's so many cool places that you can go to investigate. That seems like the people in Buffalo really kind of open their hearts to that type of stuff. So it's pretty cool. But it's, for me, it's being able to open these locations up and have the investigations done, to have people experiencing things. And actually see the history, see what it looks like now and what it may have looked like back in the day, and it's just interesting to be able to walk through and get experiences at places, So, and we'll just keep doing it, That's something that's fun, and the money can go back to the location to help fix it up. And that's Statler. That's 18 floors, 950,000 square foot of a location that needs help. But
They
they're
showed
working
that
on it.
briefly in the Destination Fear. That place looks massive.
No, they've done Destination Fear. Stayed there in season 2, or the first season. It was right at the end of the season. So if you go back and look for the Statler Hotel episode, they actually stayed there. And there was also an episode of Paranormal Lockdown with Nick Groff and Katrina Weidman that was filmed there as well in season 2 of Paranormal Lockdown, which is worth watching as well if you look that up. But it's an awesome, amazing location, and it's so much square footage every time I go there, it's like I'm exploring someplace new. Each floor could be like a new exploration. You're walking onto floors and there's old offices with all the office equipment still in there. You're walking into attorneys' offices and it's like they just got up and left everything. Like you can still see stuff in the drawers. Pamphlets. Like what business was this? They used to have the radio station on the top floor, on the 18th floor on the right corridor. WBEN, some of the stuff still up there from that too. It's pretty neat. It's like taking a step back in time. And then some of the rooms were still hotel rooms, from back when it was a hotel. So, and they haven't been touched in years, from when it was the Statler Hilton back in the 1970s. It's just like we're not renovating these anymore. They stay as they are. I mean, luckily there's a plan now for the renovations to happen and to bring business and life back into the upper floors and stuff too.
But it's still open for tours when they're doing all that.
Yeah, we'll start doing the tours again in the spring, but it gets really cold in the winter. It's not heated, so.
What would you say your top experiences would be for like the Wildwood Sanitarium and the Hotel Statler?
For the Wildwood Sanitarium, it was probably the first time one of the first times I had, when my goals was, I wanted to get it on TV. I wanted to be able to get some national attention, and I had never really explored it too much. And I brought a small group in, and we're kind of just filming, and there was accounts of poltergeist activity happening there and shadows and things like that. So we were just at the infantile stages of investigating this location. And I was on the second floor, and they call it the doll room. I guess, a lot of places have creepy dolls, but this place has dolls that are original from like the 1920s and 30s and 50s and stuff like that. And they're all in this one room for the most part. And I was doing a spirit box session in there, and I was standing out in the hall just because the way I listen to the spirit box, and I turned and I saw the shadow figure move towards me, then turn. It would have been turning left to go up to the third floor, and then I followed it, and I just kind of kept my distance watching it, and then it went up to the third floor, and it looked like it was kind of checking in on rooms. It went into a room, then it went into the next room, then it went down the hall, and it dissipated. So to me, that was kind of like a residual energy, but it was still pretty amazing that I was able to witness that with my own eyes and capture that, and I was like, okay, that's great evidence. I can show Nick this, and hopefully he'll say, yeah, let's go there, and put it on Paranormal Lockdown. And he did. And he had some amazing experiences there as well. But that was one of the best ones that I've ever had investigating there. I mean, the Statler, there's so many. I mean, we've been featured on the news. Some of the EVPs that we've captured down in the ballrooms, just are amazing. And there's this shadow figure that was captured during a wedding. In the wedding pictures, like an unexplained shadow when people were having a wedding in the ballroom there. And I felt like there was a lot of attachment energy there, like entities that were attached to some of the things, because we had this place down in the basement. It was like the sub-basement of the basement, and we called it the desk graveyard, because when they started going up onto the floors and clearing out these office spaces and the things that people hadn't, taken with them when they left, they just threw everything down on the bottom floor, and all this stuff was down there, people's possessions, and it's just been sitting down there for years. And we've got so much activity down in this sub-basement area, and you're got to think about how many pounds of rock and stuff that are between you and the floorboard, of the street, and we were getting, we got this guy that kept saying his name was Steve, and I said, what floor did you work on? Did you work here? Yes. And then he said that some of his stuff was down here. He was mad. He was angry. And I remember him saying, what floor he worked on, and then I had the group with me. I'm like, well, I usually don't go to this floor, but let's go up to this floor, And when we got up to, it was the 5th floor. You know how like you go into an office building and they have those little boards that have like the names of the business and what room they're on. It had this guy's name. There was a Steve who was an attorney that had passed away. That was his law firm was on the 5th floor, and his name was still on the board. And we looked it up, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like how cool is that? Like that we possibly had this. And maybe I said he was a bastard, but maybe he just had a strong personality as an attorney. That's how he was in life. That's how he is in death. And so we played with that. We played with that information, and we're able to get a secretary, and we're able to get a lot of stuff on him. We felt connected with Steve there, that attorney, as far as like his family and all that kind of stuff. We were able to notify his family. So it's kind of neat. And they weren't too freaked out about it. They said, that sounds about right. That's where he spent most of his life, at the office. So.
Mm. I mean, I can definitely understand that if I have some personal belongings that my family would rather see than just go to waste.
Yeah. You'd stick by him, right? Possibly.
Mm.
You want to make sure that they found a good home, at least, right?
So the greater Western New York is, well, that paranormal society is still going, just
Yeah, I mean, we'll still
because.
take on cases if we can. I mean, we have a Facebook page, and we have a website up, and we have a lot of the things that we've like not the residential hauntings, but a lot of the corporate hauntings and abandoned buildings and things like that we've been able to investigate. We've documented all of that, and it's all on my YouTube page. We have like 44, I call them, episodes of different locations that we've been to. Some we've been to a couple times. It pays to go back. You can't do it in one night, so
Can always
sometimes,
get more evidence also.
yeah, or try to see if you can get the same thing to happen twice.
Mm.
It's a little bit more compelling. That's all. Like all the links to that stuff is up. I have one main page. It's my name, Daniel Klaes .com, danielklaes.com, and then I have links to the Hinsdale House, Wildwood Sanitarium, Greater Western New York Paranormal Society, and anything that I'm involved with, like bookings that I'll be at, traveling, movies, things like that I'll be involved with. So it'll all be up there.
You also work on movies or act in movies?
Not actor, more like docudrama type stuff. So I like, for instance, Behind the Shadows Decades. It's more of like an interview, investigative type of thing. Like I feel like what we see on television is stale.
Mm.
So my whole goal is to make it different, make it more appealing and more interesting in a way, as opposed to the same old, just having an IR light with people standing in a room asking questions and saying, "Did you hear that?" I want people to experience what we experience when we're doing it. And I do that through recreations. I do that through, actually explaining things, explaining how this works, or actually hearing from a person that had experienced it, but not the team, through their own words of what had happened, to them when they were at this location or whatnot. So I tie a whole lot of different things, and I also film it cinematically as opposed to just the same old, same old. So I'm not using IR lights. I'm using low lighting as opposed to the typical IR light that you'll see on like ghost hunters or whatever. And it's filmed. I try to film it beautifully and keep people on the edge of their seats with it. And it's just been something I picked up. It's something that I enjoy doing, and I've been doing it for a long time. So I've never really tried directing stuff too much because I've always been involved with most of the productions that I've been in as a cast member, like the Ghost Finders and on Paranormal Lockdown and other like America's Most Terrifying Locations, other shows like that. But I just, you pick up on things, and then you just kind of want, as an artist, as an actual artist, you just want to put your vision onto the screen. Like I've had all these things that I want to do, and dealing with COVID, I've been able to put this production together because there's nothing else that we can do right now. So I was able to actually go and film it during this whole pandemic and have it edited, and it's just done. I'm pretty happy with it for the first time I've ever done anything. So as a director, and I produced a lot of stuff, but this is the first time I've taken a hand at directing. So.
A lot of people say what you're interested in or what you experience acts as a mirror for your internal life. Do you see yourself in all these experiences that you have been drawn to with the paranormal?
Yeah, and I've had a lot of, like, this psychic that I worked with, and many of them said this to me, but that I'm drawn to the Hinsdale House from a past life. Like I am meant to be there to finish maybe what was started, or maybe not, or not being able to finish with the answers that were needed, or I need to push farther with it in order to. I guess it's kind of like being Pokemon, right? Like you want to get to that next level of your enlightenment. So, I feel like everything happens the way it's supposed to. And I feel like a lot of the things that I've learned in my life, I can look back on and I wouldn't want to change anything, even though some crappy stuff has happened to me, because you grow as a person, and you grow into the way that I am today, which is a very passionate and very patient person, which is very much needed in order to do what we do. It's not about, for me, it's never been about being on TV, but that came to me. So I felt like, why would I turn that down? It's all about things happening by you being yourself. And I feel like if you're on the right path and you're doing the right things and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that things will fall into place the way that they're supposed to. I'm happy, like I'm really happy with my life. I'm happy with my family. I'm happy with my kids. I'm happy with all the places I get to go to, which I would have never thought I'd be able to. I just got an offer to go to England next year. All expenses paid to talk at a convention in England, and it's like, this is crazy. Like I would have never in a million years, and because I bought the house, because everything just kind of it's like a ripple effect. Like that was supposed to happen, or else. Or I'll probably be broke right now out on the street living in a box. I don't know. Like there's, you just got to follow the path and take chances. And if it feels right, try it. I mean, what does it hurt? You only live this life. Got to live it to its fullest.
Right. How do you deal with indecision, like when a path forks?
I honestly, I'll sit back when I have a decision to make, and I look at the pros and cons of each thing, and I always try to take the path of least resistance. Like in my mind, if I feel like taking the path to the right is going to allow me to achieve XYZ or possibly achieve it, I will take that path. Like I try. People say like I'm a bridge maker, like I bridge relationships with people, and I bridge. And I don't ever like to see negative. Like I don't ever like to see people like arguing and fighting, because it's like I feel like that takes so much energy and time away from things that you could be doing that's important, something that could be making a difference in your life. And I just try, I try to, you can't save everyone, but if I can, and it's something that I have the power to say, maybe say a few words and make somebody think, I do that, and like I said, sometimes I feel like I'm a counselor, but there's a lot of egos and there's a lot of different personalities involved in whatever we do in our lifetime. And, you have to be able to deal with all of them patiently, in order to get what you want out of life, if that makes sense.
That was very beautifully put.
Oh, okay, good. So I don't know what I'm saying half the time. I just babble.
Very good.
Sometimes I'll be
Public
like
speaker.
talking at like a convention, and everybody comes in with like these. Now I have them. I have like the pictures, and click through the pictures and talk about it and try to have everything set up the way it's supposed to be. But I've always found that I get a better response from people when I just come in and shoot from the hip and talk about how I feel and talk about my experiences, and it's more real for people because they can hear the passion in your voice when you're talking about it, and how much it's really touched them. So, I do both. If it's a slideshow you want, I can do the slideshow. But I like just going up and talking,
Mm.
And if people want to see pictures, come up to me later and I'll show you the pictures that I'm talking about,
I guess we can cut this part for the podcast, but wanted I missed the first bit, so I was wondering like how you got into this sort of like the first steps you made towards like this becoming like your world. This like haunted places.
Yeah, like I was telling them, I grew up in a location that was haunted. So I experienced things there when I was a kid, and then I kind of went on to, I feel like, solve the case because I ended up buying that house from my parents later in life, and finding out that there were two children's spirits that were living in the house that were attached to a picture that we found in the attic, and it helped them to move on. And not that they left; they would come back sometimes, but it wasn't. It helped them to move on that we acknowledged who they were and acknowledged what they were attached to. And after that, probably from age 18 and on, I was able to go to different places and explore and just keep learning from people, So a lot of the times I was the guy on the public tour, just listening to the people that were the experts talking and learning what they had to say. And you learn a lot from that, and you learn a lot what to do and what not to do, when you're dealing with people. So I just kind of just kept doing it, and that's what I've been doing, It's been part of my life for a long time.
I feel like you must have a very strong fate line in your palm. Oh,
Can you see it?
yeah, I see that.
See how it goes? I don't have any breaks here. See that? Something's going to happen when I get a little older here. I might have another pathway to go, but I'm into it. And it's funny, it said I would have 4 children, and I have 3 on my own, but then I have an adopted son too. So it knows. Somehow it knows.
Yeah, we do a lot of the tarot and palm reading and stuff, trying to incorporate the, I believe, metaphysical.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I do a lot of that too. Like I'm drawn to healers. I'm drawn to, and it's I didn't notice it until after the fact, but I was drawn to psychics and nurses. Like I didn't even think about it. I'm like, my God, the last 3 girls that I dated were nurses. Like it's it's just like I'm just drawn to people that have healing nature in them. And I put on psychic fairs, you know, and I do the one in Jamestown with KC. I do this one at the Statler Hotel. That's the biggest one in New York State, and 10,000 people there. You know, like, and I'm bringing in healers from all over the place and doing it at a fair price. Not trying to kill people. You know, it's like the whole purpose of this is not. And I think that's why so many people stick with me when I do these things, because some people do these psychic fairs because they want to make money. Yeah, making money is great, but it'll come to you if you're doing the right thing. So I set prices like $35. Like we're not charging more than that, you know, like for a reading. And it's more about people coming and getting healing for me. You know, like people need to come and get healing answers. And if they feel connected to a psychic or a reader or somebody that's giving them some type of healing, they're going to go back to that person, you know, and it'll come in the long run, and that person being helped. So that was like the whole purpose of the fairs, and bringing different types of healing techniques to folks that had no idea that was out there, like Reiki and drum circles and all that kind of cool stuff that people don't participate in. Even a foot massage. Holy cow. Have you gotten a foot massage, John?
No.
No pedicures for you?
Nope.
You don't know what you're missing.
Probably not.
Yeah, no, my God, they're amazing. The essential oils, all that kind of stuff. It's amazing.
Honestly, I probably need all that at this point.
You'd be amazed at a little dab of essential oil can do to help, like, make you feel relaxed. A little mint or something like that. No stress. No stress. Right, Molly? No stress.
Yeah, the foot massage thing, I'm wanting to learn that. It's called like reflexology.
Mm-hmm.
All the points in your foot are connected to other parts of your body and your chakras. It's very cool.
You should test on John.
I mean, that's
Not,
fine.
not everyone's comfortable with their feet, though.
I know. I try to help people become comfortable with their feet because they don't know what they're missing.
Do you have a favorite scent?
Me? I tend to like the citrusy smells. But I do like chamomile, and I do like I usually keep like an evergreen scent around. So I diffuse a lot of different scents depending on how I'm feeling. Mint is good too. Mint is very uplifting. Spearmint.
Citrus is very good for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Casey's got to do a lot of that different stuff. The way she was talking, she's very into the, like, apparently she has the Native American background.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She does a lot of the, like, different prayer and rituals and stuff that they do.
Yeah, which I allow people to do, because I feel like with the Hinsdale House especially, there's so many different layers, and I feel like the reason the exorcism didn't work in the 1970s was because it was a Catholic ritual. And I feel like there's so many different levels of spiritualism at that house throughout the years that it's going to take more than a Catholic priest. It's going to take a team of light workers that can get along and work together to actually bring healing to that property, and that's what's happening. You know, if you can't get along because of somebody's beliefs, then it's negative, and I don't want you there. Like, you're there for the wrong reasons. You know, everybody can get along and understand that there's different ways of thinking, and that's the beautiful thing about it. You know, at the end of the day, we achieved the same thing: being kind to one another and working with each other.
Here's a question for you.
hmm
How do you think these spirits actually feel about everybody talking with them as constantly as they do?
I think it's a big influx of spirits. I don't think it's the same ones every time when you come into the house. But I also there's times where they don't interact, you know, and I think that, you know, a lot of the times you're going in and teams are asking the same questions over and over again, and it can get stale and boring. So
Mm.
that's why I always tell everybody to know your stuff, you know, when you go into a location, because there could have been 4 people that came before you that, you know, asked what your favorite color was. But if you go in saying, I love gold or I love yellows, and I know that was your favorite color, I brought you this banana because it's yellow, and maybe you'll get an, you know, maybe you'll get an interaction, you know, like, because you came in with that knowledge as opposed to just asking a basic question. So that's why it's important to really do your research on the possible deaths that could have occurred, what made them churn, what made them tick, and to be able to come in with that interesting stuff when you go into the investigation, because it could help you along with getting a piece of evidence that nobody else could ever get. So I guess in retrospect, your question, how do I think the spirits? I think the spirits will connect with who they want to connect with. Others may do the same with others, and you know, it's sometimes if the house is not busy, it's busy on the outside. So I think there's enough there for everybody to try to get something, you know, depending on what their goals are.
Mm.
But as long as they don't focus on one area, you know, they need to explore the whole place.
So our first podcast was with one of the professors at our college, and
hmm
he grew up near the Star Forest. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. Yeah.
No, I don't
I
know. I've never heard of it, the
Oh yeah,
Star
okay.
Forest.
Right, because I was looking up and I really only found like one website talking about an experience there, and it wasn't at all like the experience he had had, and it seemed like there had been like countless experiences in this location. And so I was wondering, is there like a good platform or like reservoir of information where this sort of thing is like cohesively cataloged?
As of right now, there is the Hinsdale Historical Society that you can actually go into, which they have a plethora of information. That's part of my goal too, is to have it cataloged for the museum so people can actually look through it and see it all and keep adding to it. But it's been a, you know, it's been a lot of work so far. You know, we have to get the data and we have to do the research, and we've been able to do a lot, so we have a lot to work with. So hopefully that'll be something that I'll have for the museum, and then at some point I want to digitize everything and have it available online too, so people that are coming in 60 days or 90 days can research that and look at that as well, as opposed to having to break their heads trying to find stuff. Because there's a lot of information at St. Bonaventure, and it's still a lot of the stuff I can't get into because it's Catholic Church, you know, and they protect the living. So if there's it's something in the catacombs, or that not the catacombs, but in the basement of the library that I can't get into, that's locked. And I know one of the boxes says Ed and Lorraine Warren on it. And I'm like, oh my God, but it's my house now. I should be able to see this stuff, you know, like, I
Mm.
want to see it so bad, but I want to respect their decision too. And eventually, whoever they're protecting passes away, they may open up that file for me to see, or if I complete my case in a good way, they would maybe let me see it. But I think I have to prove that it's affecting me to not know. So, um, like I said, I have patience, so I think if I'm meant to see it, I'll eventually see it, and hopefully it will happen. You know.
So you came into season 2 of the Ghost Finders television show. How is
Season
it?
10.
Season 10.
Yeah, well, I guess it's considered season 2 online because all the rest of the stuff was on YouTube. Now it's on Amazon Prime, but it's actually Rob, who's the resident psychic on there. He's been doing this for 10 seasons, you know.
But how has it been working with Megan and Rob?
I feel like we're really work really cohesive together, you know, because we each bring something different to the table. You know, Rob with his psychic abilities, Megan's a witch who I've never really worked with a witch on a team before. So to be able to see how she looks at things differently than normal people, and I really give her a lot of praise because you know she's stepping outside of her veil, you know, out of her comfort zone, and really showing everybody what she does. Because most people, you say witch and they start fringing upon it, you know. So it's like it's really cool to see how they, you know, her rituals and how she actually does things and how she offers healing to the land and opens up that line of communication that wouldn't have been there. I feel like she gets such great, amazing communication because of what she does.
Yeah, it's very interesting, the witch aspect of working with her witchcraft and the paranormal.
Yes.
I, till that point, haven't seen that used in the paranormal yet.
Yeah. So we just put out a special episode when we filmed at the Winchester Mystery House last December, and you know Nick was involved with filming it, and it's definitely something you should check out. It's called Winchester, a Ghost Finder special, and I think that you'd really be impressed with it. You know, I think the way that we filmed it was amazing. You know.
So this is kind of where my spiritual is, but I actually have a reoccurring dream that is of a kind of endless hallway, or like how I imagine the inside of the Winchester Mystery House and those hallways would look. I'm not sure really where that has come from, but it's kind of from different angles. I'll see that different hallway, while the same hallway from different angles. But it always appears to be the same colors, the same, like, looks the same, just from a different way of viewing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that place is like a maze. You know, like. But I think that the main hallway to the front door is pretty iconic looking, the way that you can picture in, and it's like they still, like, within the past few years have just discovered rooms that they didn't know were there. You know, she felt like she wanted to confuse the spirits that were there because all the energies from the deaths of the Winchester rifle were coming to get her. You know, so she was
Yep.
building this maze. And it is a maze. I mean, I got to spend 2 nights there with my team alone, you know, which is amazing. But I want more time there. I want to explore more, you know, because we focused on certain areas, and I didn't get to really do everything that I wanted to do there.
How much of it would you say you covered?
A small portion, maybe 20%, you know. It was very cool, but because we were filming, we couldn't go in and investigate other areas while they were filming, and we only were able to investigate the areas that we were set, you know, where our call time said we had to be at to investigate. So, but while they were investigating the inside, we were exploring some of the other structures on the property, you know, which was cool. The caretaker's house and some of the other buildings that were on the property. So it was still cool in its own way.
Do you know Johnny Hauser?
Yeah, I know Johnny pretty good.
That might be an interesting place for him to work. Seeing his style from what they put on VIDI Space is just staying in one building, getting as much information as possible from that one building.
Yeah, that would be actually really cool. Just give them a camera and say, okay, you're locked in. Go get some evidence.
Mm. The other thing that I've noticed that might also be cool is do you know of the Van Horn Mansion up in
Yeah.
Newfane?
Oh yeah, I've gotten some amazing stuff there.
Do you know if it's ever been featured on a TV show or a TV series?
Not that I know of.
Because that might be an interesting place for VIDI Space to do a special or one of the episodes of the series.
Yeah, we've filmed there, and I have it on YouTube, but it's never been on national TV, I don't think. And you're right. Some of the evidence that we've captured at the Van Horn Mansion is the best evidence that I can say. Like pictures and mirrors, creatures that we can't explain what they are, graves on the site. It's got everything there, so it's quite an awesome location.
Turning gravestones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last year that's where we did a collaboration between the Alfred State College and Medaille College Paranormal Societies. So we grouped them up and did a big investigation. Well, it was still a rather large investigation, but it was me and one other member from our club and then all of their club. But yeah, we came away with quite a bit of evidence, so that's a very interesting place.
Yeah, Molly's got to go there. Molly, what locations have you been to so far?
I honestly, I'm just realizing that since joining this club a few months ago, that this is actually a whole community of people and like locations. I've been to a sanitarium in it's like north of Albany. That was
Saratoga.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Saratoga. And they also have an abandoned Air Force base that had a lot of like very strange activity. I think even after that it like especially since after it was like abandoned.
They just opened Saratoga back up to investigate. My friend Steve Brote's managing it now, so you can actually get in there to do investigations. That was on Destination Fear too.
Really, I went right before they boarded it up because I think there was like an asbestos
Yeah.
issue.
There's this group on Facebook. It's called Beyond the Senses, and they run like auctions for like paranormal equipment and like investigations at locations. And what they do is they take the proceeds from the auctions, and they every month they donate it to a location that's in need of getting fixed up, which is really cool. And I know Saratoga was this month, so they'll hopefully get like a big chunk of money.
Why is there any way, or how do we become like more involved in this sort of thing?
You just have to like the page, really. It's called Beyond the Senses, and just join it. And there'll be tons of auctions on there, like for $4 or $3. They'll let like 20 or 30 people, and then they like spin this big thing, and you can win like spirit boxes and all this cool equipment and stuff, and for a chance. And then the proceeds go to a location, which is really cool. Like last month, they made like $5,000 for Wildwood Sanitarium doing little auctions and stuff, which is pretty neat.
As for helping the building, though, he's got something coming up in 2021 where he's going to allow people to come over, volunteer to clean up the place. And we haven't really talked about it yet, but I figured that might be a good thing for the club to do, seeing it's volunteer work, and definitely would help with that location.
Yeah, and usually when a location asks for volunteers to help, it's usually cool because you'll help during the day, and then they'll usually feed you, and then at night you get a free investigation out of it, because of your help. So they give you time to actually go through the location and investigate, and it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, but as for Megan Deputy,
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to get, well, we're hoping to get her onto the podcast because I want to have these two girls talk to her about what she side of the paranormal and kind of expand upon that in a podcast.
Okay, I can have her give you a call.
Okay, that would be much appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
We've been trying to reach out to her over Instagram, but I'm not
She
sure.
does. She's constantly super busy because she's a makeup artist, and she does, like, she's doing this new series for Oprah Winfrey right now. So
Okay.
she's like, yeah, she's like, if you look at her IMDb page, she is like one of the top sought after makeup artists in the country. So she's very busy with that on top of the Ghost Finders, but she'll always take time to do like podcasts and stuff for fans, and like I'll be at a convention or something, and they'll walk up to me and they'll, "Where's Megan?" I'm like, "Well, she's not here," like, and then I'll text her. I'm like, "Oh, this little fan wanted to speak with you," and she goes, "Well, call me," and like, and she'll have her on my phone, and she'll be speaking to the little girl or something like that watched her on TV, and she's just really cool like that, really, really appreciative of people, and really down to earth. But she's busy, but she'll do it.
Yeah, she seems like a good, spirited person.
Yeah, she is really. I wouldn't hang out with her if she wasn't. Trust me. I don't need no negative around.
Basically, I want to phrase this correctly because I don't want to say it in a wrong way. And so far, even though I've been trying to research up to this point, I haven't had the most accurate information. So, um, basically, would the club be able to host a tour or like a fundraiser at the Hinsdale House, help with your tours, possibly give us some money towards the club? Like, is there a type of thing like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We could do that. We just
Also,
gotta pick a date in the spring or whenever you want to do it and set it up.
okay. Would it cost us any money,
No.
or would it be
Mm-mm.
like, okay?
No, basically what I do is I would like use it as a rental, kind of in a way, but I don't really put any borders or specifics on it as far as like what you need to pay. And so say you sold 10 tickets for $35 each or $30, I'd take like 100 and you could have the rest or something like that to put towards your club. I'm not, Plus you're basically running the tour too, so just so that the location gets something out of it, and then you guys can have the rest. You know, like I could just split it up fairly. You know.
Hmm. The other thing is basically a theory.
Mm-hmm.
Not really a theory, but So I like to basically the reason behind the podcast is to get us to talk with the rest of the paranormal community. As Molly has learned, there's actually a lot of people making up this paranormal community. Buffalo is actually a very large paranormal community in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, how would somebody that would be a member of this club or any other person get involved with doing the tours for the Hinsdale House
I mean,
as an individual?
just have to ask. Really, I have it's like an equal opportunity type thing. Like I don't like tell anybody they can't do a tour there if they want to. Like I just had somebody do one on Saturday that came from, you know, Albany area, you know, and I have people that, you know, will come in and do their own thing. You know, some people like to do more of a spiritual type thing, and some people have their own followers that want to kind of do their own thing with them there. That's fine. You know, like I don't I just treat everybody the same, and if somebody wants to get involved, they can get involved, you know. It's a community, it's not a competition. The only thing that I do is I make sure that I don't let one group like on one Friday charge $20 for a ticket, and then one group the next Friday charge 35. I keep all the ticket prices the same, so there's no like competition really. Like everybody's on the same playing field, so it's not like, you know, the one sells out and then the next one doesn't get any tickets sold or something like that. For the most part, they all sell out anyway when we're doing a public tour. So
Do you
just
have like go
I
ahead.
do I for a public tour for like a 2.5 hour tour, charge $35.
Do you have like a group of like a team that works at the Hinsdale House that does the tours?
I have a bunch of teams. Well, I have a bunch of individuals, and then I have there are teams that'll come in and do maybe one or two a year. Para Expeditions does overnight tours there once a month. But yeah, I don't have like a resident team per se, like that'll do like a tour every month. Buffalo Niagara Paranormal helps out a lot. You know, they'll do maybe 4 a year or 5 a year there. They do tours all over the place too. They help out with Statler and Wildwood too. So I mean, in essence, you could really, if it's something that you wanted to do, you could get involved with more than one location too, just not the Hinsdale House. If you want to do tours at Wildwood, you could do that too. You know, or in Buffalo.
Do they do roughly the same thing?
Exactly the same thing that I do. I actually book everything for them.
I've just remembered I went to a hotel in, I think I was in New Mexico. No. Where was I? I think I was in Arkansas, and I was at a haunted hotel, and I spoke to someone who had a very similar energy as you there.
Mm.
It was a haunted hotel.
Was it a bad energy or a good energy?
It was like it was a good energy. You said no negativity. Yeah, very open-minded and like friendly and like also inquisitive. So maybe it's like a cousin of yours.
Maybe it's my doppelganger. Who knows?
So we might not want to go down to New Mexico then.
That's all right. If I bump into him, it's all right.
It was Arkansas though, because it was near these healing springs that the Native Americans used to use. But I guess when settlers or like colonizers came, the Native Americans a lot of them had to flee, and I think the healing springs lost their power because the energy was polluted.
Nonsense. You just take all your energy Put your hands over it like this. Get a big group of people and start putting that positiveness back into that water. Turn it into holy water again.
Should try that.
It works. It's weird. It's amazing. I've done a lot of experimenting with collective consciousness and like focusing your mind and your energy on one thing to get very good results. Like for instance, at the Hinsdale House, I was doing a tour last summer, and I had like 13 people sitting in the living room, and I said, and when we were out by the fire, I just said, I want somebody to pick a silly, any word, just a word, any word, right? And the one girl, she's like, pickle. I'm like, pickle, okay, pickle it is, So we got into the living room, and I explained what we were going to do. I'm like, I don't want anybody to say that word that we talked about out by the fire, but I just want everybody to think about that word. I'm going to set the recorder down for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to play that recorder back and see if we can get the word pickle to come through on this recording. And lo and behold, like 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the recording, it just says pickle. I'm like, are you effing kidding me right now? Really? Like, that was crazy to me. Like, it's amazing, like, what the power of the mind can do, and we're not even scratching the surface right now, with what we can use our mind for. Well, we use like 20% of our brain, so I mean, how do we tap in? It's like the Force, kind of, right?
In a way, yeah. Everything's connected through electricity.
Yeah, what you say is definitely true. If you have I like to think of it as chi, like a pure chi flow, which is from like an Eastern philosophy. But
I've stayed at a Buddhist temple a couple times. I know chi.
is it haunted?
Yes, but it was good though.
Really?
Yeah, I stayed at the Temple of 10,000 Buddhas in Niagara Falls, Canada, and then I also went to the Zen Buddhist temple for a week in Toronto, which was amazing. It was the most, although I worked my ass off, I felt at the end of it, it was the most relaxing experience of my life. The meditation that they teach you is unbelievable. You can meditate literally for like an hour, and it feels like you slept for 8. Like you're ready to go. I felt so much energy there.
I need to learn that.
It comes in handy when you're in college. I was doing a paper on it, and that's like when I was in college, that's what I did. Like I was learning about Zen Buddhism and different religions and understanding cultures and things like that. And it was, I think that that's part of my path, like being able to be compassionate to everybody's beliefs, and being able to bring them all together. Because like I said, at the end of the day, every religion is this ultimate same goal, and it's all positive for the most part, achieving a different enlightenment. It's just said different ways. But leading a righteous life, being good to people.
The one interesting thing about religions is if you study most of them do have a form of spirits. So who's to say that ghosts aren't real if all the early religions have references to spirits?
Oh yeah, I mean, even in the Catholic religion, they call it the Holy Ghost. Back in the day. So I mean, and every religion has a demon too, type of demon.
Yeah, there is a lot of fear when we talk about these things or magic because it can be used for bad purposes. I like there's certain types of blood magic, which is like to save a life, you must give a life, and it's not always the life you intend to give. like you may sacrifice a horse, but instead it takes your newborn baby or your
Mm-hmm.
fetus. So it is something like you do have to like you can't just like slurp up all the magic and expect it to go well.
Or you can think, if you really want to get zen about it, you can really think that that's life, and anything at any point can happen to anybody. So why be scared of it? You know, how many times a year do you think a woman has a fetus that, you know, doesn't make it? You know, I mean, it's life. It happens and it's sad, but you're gonna blame it on a god? You want to blame it on a god? You can, but I mean, that's the type of stuff that they used back in the day to put that little bit of fear into your head to get you to kind of veer their way, you know, as far as their way of thinking.
Okay. Well, I've really enjoyed your energy and passion for the paranormal. And a lot of the things that you're talking about, I see or hope to be in a similar situation one day, because I also like the paranormal and have a lot of good experiences with it.
Yeah, just keep seeking it out, and you'll get there. You know, it'll happen. It's like when you meet that girl, your forever girl, or your forever mate. You know, it happens when you least expect it. When you're not looking for it.
Well, that's a funny thing because you said you dated 3 nurses in a row, right?
Yeah.
So with your wife now, did you like feel something different than with those women before?
No, but she. I feel like she's still a healer. You know, she works in the dental field. So she's a hygienist, and she helps people with cavities, and she helps people. She's a phlebotomist, so she can draw blood and help people feel better. You know, so I mean, ultimately, that's still kind of the same thing. You know, just a different form of it.
Yeah, I've had very good experiences with phlebotomists and dental hygienists. It's
Hmm.
a hard thing to do, and I feel like it's really nice to have a good like person to help you get through it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. Hopefully, we'll get to investigate together someday. Maybe at the house. Maybe for a tour. Maybe like for your first one, I could be there. So just making
I
sure
would
that
love.
like the information that's going out is we're all staying on the same page. You know, like, and if there's questions that you don't know, I'd be there to at least answer them as you get going with stuff like that. But that would be cool.
Well, as you are a busy man with all the stuff that you do, but Liz here and Jake are actually going to be graduating here soon, like next semester. So I was hoping we could go back to Hinsdale in the spring semester.
Yeah.
Do you could we just let you know when we
Yeah.
want to go and see
Yeah.
if you
Talk it over and let me know.
can be with us?
Hmm.
Okay. The other thing is we're thinking of doing a paracon here over the spring semester. Well, kind of a paracon, just our version of it. You do the connecting spirits little How do you explain that? Like a conference type thing, or?
No, I bring like different spirit portals and different types of devices that I collect in for the talk, and I actually try to connect people in the audience with energies and spirits that might be with them that are in the audience.
So similar to psychic medium?
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Except
think
using a different form of it. Yep.
Do you think you could take it to, like, be an online thing?
Yeah, for sure.
Because basically what I was thinking at this point, seeing we're not the biggest organization, so having each individual bring their thing that they like to do, that they've developed, that they can do online, and then making like an entire day out of it, having a like introduction to paranormal, the paranormal community, college related paranormal stuff, and just having that be the the focus of the event.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we don't have too much planned other than that basic information. So we can definitely let you know.
Okay. Yeah, keep me posted. And I'll get you I'll get Megan in contact with you.
Okay. Okay, Liz, you want to officially wrap this up with your wrap up or conclusion?
Sure, I can do that. Okay, so thank you, Dan, for joining us. It's been a really great time talking with you, learning about all the new stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great.
Yeah, no problem. So thanks everyone for joining in and listening to this week's podcast. Our podcast will possibly have an episode during the Christmas break, maybe one during New Year's. You can catch new episodes of the podcast on several different podcast listening platforms, including Spotify. Just look for ASPI and UX Club, and it will show up. Also, make sure to follow the club on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to keep up with the podcast as well as all of our events. And if you want to join the club, just head over to Pioneer Link and join our club on that website. Again, thank you for listening and have a spooky night, everyone.